Our viewers waiting. Why is it not live? Looks like you're ready. Go live. Okay. Oh, for some reason, I needed to click a new button. Isn't that waiting? Why is it not live? Oh, there we go. Now we are live.
Are we live?
We are live. Yes.
On
For
that.
some reason, yes. I needed to click a new button. Okay. It's embarrassing, but sorry, guys. We are just, always like a new thing. Oh, for some reason, okay. I needed to click a new button. Okay. Now. Oh, there we go. We are. Hold on, I have like 17 different windows open.
Wait, now I hear all this garbled
Are
sound.
we back to time loop? Like I keep hearing Heidi saying the same thing.
Based on my test on the separate computer.
But the important thing is that
We're in a Doctor Who episode.
And in a hotel, we get thrown out for having too many people.
now. Oh, there we go. Hold on, I have like 17. Wow.
Wait, now I hear all this garbled
Are we back to time loop?
Happening. Okay. Compose ourselves. Yes, I'm going to try to go live again. Let's see if this works. Compose ourselves. Yes, I'm going to try to go live again. Let's see if this. Yes, I'm going to try to go live again. Let's see if this. I'm going to cut this out. People are coming and going. Coming and going.
It's got a comment saying, this is every Zoom call ever.
Wow. Okay. I think
every Zoom call ever.
wait. Wow. Okay. Okay. If anyone can hear us live, post something in the chat because I think we're good now. I think we're live now. If anyone can hear us live, post something in the chat because
I'm getting an echo loop.
I know.
Yeah.
All right. Can hear us live, post something in the chat because
I'm getting an echo loop.
I know.
Yeah.
This is so weird. I don't know what's happening.
It's coming out of you, Heidi, I think.
I know it is. Oh.
Maybe you have to mute your other monitor.
Okay. You're okay, but garbled. Okay. I don't know what's happening. Okay. I think we're good now. If everybody can hear us live without the garbling.
Your other
monitor. Nope. You're okay, but garbled. Okay. Why am I have a window open that is really screwing this up. Everybody can hear us live without the garbling.
Your other monitor.
You're okay, but was it on Twitter? It's gonna close. Window open. That is.
Yeah, this is why I was almost late because I was closing down everything else on my computer, which meant
I know.
dealing with all the 30 tabs I had
done
open.
this millions of times, and I've never had this happen before. So it's only a 4 ladies thing. So I think it is.
Yeah, this is why I was almost late because I was closing down everything else on my computer,
Where
which meant
is
dealing
my-
with all the 30 tabs I had open.
This millions of
Mystery
times, and I've
echo.
never had this happen before. So it's only a 4 ladies thing. So
Okay,
there. It is.
Yeah, this is why I was almost late because I was closing down everything else on my computer, which meant dealing with all the 30 tabs I had open.
Millions of times, and I've never had this happen before. So it's only a 4 ladies thing. So, okay. There. It is.
Yeah, this is why I was almost late.
Millions of times, and I've never had this happen. can hear me. Okay, there you go. Thank you. Okay, I think people should be able to hear us now. I think if we have any listeners out there, they should be able to hear us, and hopefully, so we'll see. Okay.
Seems a lot better on this end.
Yes, I think I managed. Okay, yes, Eric Coe is helping us. Well, shout out to Eric Coe, who's watching this live, our very good friend, Eric Coe. So like I said, I do this every week. I never had this happen before, but you know, you grow, you change, you get more complicated, and that's where the issues come in. So let's start all over.
You're also in the remote office this week.
Yes, I'm in the remote. So, you know, Deb has a new office. We all have new things. So let's start all over again. Welcome to 4 women in a very garbled Zoom room. So I'm Heidi MacDonald, the editor-in-chief of The Beat at comicsbeat.com.
I'm Johanna Draper Carlson. I edit and run comicsworthreading.com and write for Good Comics. And now Brigid should go. There you go.
Let me try this again. I am Brigid Alverson, the editor of Good Comics for Kids. I also write for Publishers Weekly, ICV2, Smash Pages, and School Library Journal.
Now Brigid should go. There you go.
All right.
Let me try this again. I am Brigid Alverson, the editor of Good Comics for Kids. I also write for Publishers Weekly.
Oh, we're getting the echo again.
Well, that's when Brigid came on.
And School Library Journal.
Brigid needs to check her windows.
My windows.
Let me try this again. I am
It was
Brigid
Brigid.
Alverson, editor of Good Comics for Kids. I also write for Publishers Weekly.
Oh, we're getting the echo again.
Well, that's
Smash
when Brigid came
Pages,
on.
and School Library.
Brigid needs to check her windows.
Checking my windows.
Mute yourself. Mute yourself. Brigid. No, it wasn't Brigid.
Brigid needs to check her windows.
Deb, mute yourself.
Windows.
Mute yourself. Mute yourself. It's Deb.
Yep.
It's
Come on,
Deb. Deb, you have the echo. It's you, Deb. Well, anyway, Brigid, you can come live again. You can come live.
Well, no, because my dog's having a barking fit, but actually he's back.
So anyway, wouldn't it be so much better if we were in San Diego?
Yes.
Yes.
So yeah, so here we are trying to live stream, but you know, it's stymied by our open windows mysteries. So yeah, what do you guys? how
Okay, is
you-
that better now?
I think you did it. Yes.
Everything's better with Deb.
So how are we enjoying Comic-Con at home this year, girls?
What's happening? I think it snuck up on everybody that this is San Diego week and the Eisners were last night. And
It did.
thanks to your site, Heidi, for reminding me of that as I read the award winners. You know, I don't know what makes them panels if they're just video clips promoting things that we can watch whenever we want.
Well, they premiere.
It's a bit of a problem because for me as a reporter, as a journalist, I'm at Comic-Con to get news and there's no news because they're all recorded panels. I mean, even the Eisners, you guys, you could just like scroll to the end.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Yes.
of course. Yeah.
Well, it was pre-recorded, right? So
It was pre-recorded, of course. Yeah. So once they put up the video, you could just go to the end and they had to listen. I mean, I did not do that. It's not how I roll, but it could be done.
Yeah, I'm
So,
sure.
You know, like there's not the same sense of, and for us, and I know you guys will relate to this, we all get like this. So now everybody goes, oh, my news will get drowned at San Diego. So you get a barrage of press releases beforehand, some of which are embargoed, but some of which aren't. So like, I know that I'm always spending the week or two before, in addition to trying to find a pair of comfortable shoes, I'm, you know, writing up all this stuff. And that didn't happen either. Like there hasn't been a huge amount of news. There've been a lot of manga license announcements because I think they always happen this year. Like there was Anime Expo and then they're still doing them, but there's no news to it. You know?
people are actually kind of skip our, I mean, as far as, you know, the manga news goes, I think none of most of the publishers, with a handful of exceptions, are using Twitter to announce licenses.
Yep.
rather than using a panel discussion to do so, right? Because I think so for example, like Seven Seas, like we'll say, hey, we're going to announce like 10 new licenses today, and then boom, 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 boom.
They literally did like 30, like they I think they did one every day for a month. Seven Seas, can I just say Seven Seas has like exploded, from being this really tiny publisher to suddenly doing 1 million manga, and they're all interesting and different.
Yeah.
So
yeah, it just says that there's a lot of space out there. But it is weird, to not, like, I almost forgot it was Comic-Con week, honestly.
Right.
The only thing that reminded me, other than, like Heidi's reporting, was my Facebook keeps showing me photos from Comic-Cons of years past.
Yeah.
Sadness.
I know. And I always start it with having lunch with at least one of you. So, that's like I arrive in San Diego when we go to the tiki bar, and I have the crab salad by the pool. And I feel like, it's how I transition into the other part of my life. So, yeah.
I'm having mad, just FOMO, well, it's not fear of missing out. It's it's missing out, however, I will say this is the first time in my adult life that I've had a normal, well, not normal because there's still a pandemic, but I've had a summer where I've traveled like normal people do. So I went off on a little quick trip to Mexico, and now I'm in Maine with my family in July, which I've never been. I mean, maybe I went for July 4th. There's a couple years where I came up for July 4th, but end of July, I've never been in Maine at this time of year with my family. So it's kind of a little bit fun just seeing the world in this way, and just, not spending, I tweeted a little bit about, this is the week where we'd all be, buying our new wardrobe, or this is the week where we'd be getting all the PR. This is the week where we get the haircut, and just remember, like when we do Comic-Con, that it's taken up with the entire month of July, and sometimes before, if it's earlier, is absolutely consumed with this event. And I will admit, like, I horribly miss Comic-Con, but I'm glad, just for a contrast, I have this July 2021 where I can sort of see what it's like not to have this gigantic time suck in my life.
It's also the perspective of someone who hasn't gone to Comic-Con since, I think maybe it was 2005. I don't know. It certainly has been a number of years, more than a decade. I'm like, well, hey, great. It doesn't have to worry about everybody sort of going panicky for a week and a half. I really wonder how much people are going to learn from this in terms of, do they want to go back to the panic and the crush, and does it make sense to go, and does it make sense to put out all the news at once? As you said, Heidi, people are learning a different way of dealing with things, and the whole concept of returning to normal is something people have been batting around a lot lately. And for a lot of people, San Diego being the centerpiece of the convention calendar was normal, but are we going to get back to that? Do people want to? Does it make sense to? I don't know.
Actually, I kind of do. I miss the crowds, and I miss like seeing all the people that I only ever see on the internet, and I miss going out for nice lunches and dinners. And you guys always pick the best restaurants, so we'll get some of that at New York Comic-Con. But San Diego is a different feeling because it's San Diego. It's like, it's sunny, it's cool, it's very Californian. There's not a lot of that in my life right now because I live north of Boston. But one thing about re-entering the past couple of weeks, I have resumed shopping again. And one thing that I think is a good reason why they're not having San Diego is that you go to the stores and there's not a lot there. Because shipping and container shortages have really been affecting us. I mean, I wrote a piece at ICV2 about the manga shortage, which is real. I've been watching, graphic novel pub dates get pushed back. And, like I go to buy curtains and there's like one kind of curtains, so, which is my boring life when I'm not. That's the other thing. If I was in San Diego, I wouldn't be buying curtains, right? But for the people who go there, and this is the part that we kind of tend to walk past and ignore, but there's all these like stalls full of like stuffed animals and, goth perfumes and whatever the hell it is, swords, whatever people buy. Like, I'm not sure that that's enough of that stuff is around right now to be sustainable for the merchants. And that's, that's the bread and butter of these things.
Well, you're
And
talking
let's
about the
not forget that
artifacts.
America is having a very different pandemic summer than the rest of the world.
Yes.
A lot of people, Comic-Con is an international show. We have people come from the UK, from Europe, from Japan, and even if everything was awesome and it happened tomorrow, I'd say more than half of those people wouldn't be showing up, if not almost all of them, because because they personally didn't want to, or the U.S. Customs Agency would not let them in anyway, or their countries are not going to let them back in if they go. So, let's not forget that we are, even though things feel normalish for us, Comic-Con is not just about the people who are exhibiting; it's also about the people who come for fun. We're dedicated old hats because we go almost every year, right? It's work. But there are people who are super excited about going, and it's the highlight of their year, or it's the first time they've ever been, and it's
a major investment too. I mean, if you talk about going for tickets and travel costs and all the rest of it, and if it's not, tax deductible or recoupable because you make fees on articles you write or whatever, it's a huge outlay of time and money. Plus, when you were saying normal, that really depends on where in the state as well. Yes, how the pandemic is progressing varies a lot. There are some states that are heavily not vaccinated and the COVID counts are tripling or more. So, which is just what's happening around the world on a smaller scale, depending on how various regions and states and countries are handling it and what the leadership is or is not doing.
Well, the sad fact is that even with our vaccine hesitancy here in the United States, we're still one of the most vaccinated countries on earth.
Right.
And, I'm still shocked because I will hear from my Canadian friends, I just got my second shot, and this is Canada. This is just a few miles away, actually very few miles away from where I am right now in Maine.
Right.
And, their rollout was so much slower. So, yeah. Now, all that said, I am hearing that New York Comic-Con is the place to be. I mean, no offense, San Diego Comic-Con, we love you. We're dying to get back to you. Dying to go to the Tin Fish again if it's still there. But yeah, I just think it's complicated, I mean, there's no other way to put it. It's like obviously we're all sensible and we want to take, be sensible about our precautions, but there's just a lot of, younger people, other people in the industry who are just can't wait to get to New York Comic-Con. And I'm hearing from a business side, it's like, oh yeah, I'm going.
Really?
Yeah, because I hear, because the other thing is, you just go to New York. I mean, New York is still pretty good. I mean, I think we're in the orange zone now just because of pretty much the whole country's in an orange zone. But New York is still handling this pandemic better than most places. So I think people feel like maybe going to New York, it's not going to be as dangerous. And also they want to see each other, like people, I mean, we're going to see each other, right?
Yeah, well, yeah. So that was a story. Heidi, do you have an official count on how many people they actually are letting into New York Comic-Con? Because tickets sold out in an hour and never even went to the general public. You had to prepay to be able to order a ticket.
So that I'm told that was a small pre-sale. That they have a lot of tickets that have not been released yet. But what is a lot? What is the capacity? What are they? What is the attendance going to be? They have not spoken about. Now I will say, as all of you know, who are coming to New York Comic-Con, which might not be Deb, but I know Brigid and Johanna, we're already cooking up plans, and we all got our press passes. And I will say none of us, no one from the Beat staff has been denied a press pass. I think press registration stops pretty soon. So they might be cutting it off early, but we've all gotten our press passes. So I thought there was going to be maybe a cap on how many people we could get. So we haven't hit that cap yet. And we have a lot of press passes. We're going to have full team coverage.
Yes.
So
I think I might go, but I think I might only go for a day or two because, there's work and stuff.
Well, I I honestly, I think going to New York Comic Con is going to be a very fluid concept. I think that might mean sitting out at Hudson Yards on a bench, you know, drinking coffee out of a paper bag and meeting up with your friends.
Yeah, I mean, the vibe I got from some of the manga publishers is that they don't personally feel comfortable asking their employees to staff a booth, so they might not be exhibiting.
I mean, I'm hearing a bit of that from book publishers too. The thing is, there's a huge potential. I mean, like, we've been whipsawed for the last year, and not getting good information about it has made it harder. We honestly don't know what New York is going to be like. You know, we don't know what the state of the pandemic is going to be. Will the Delta be everywhere? Will the Lambda be everywhere? Will there be more Greek letters for us to deal with? The other thing is that I haven't actually been to New York in quite a while, but my understanding is there's like a whole addition onto the Javits Center, so everything's different now.
Yes, it's going to be a lot larger. I've been meaning to get over there and inspect it in person, but I haven't had a chance. But when I get back, for sure, I'm going to go for a walk and suss it out. So.
Yeah. So, and hopefully there's like some concept of we are going to design this with, you know, ventilation and health in mind. So it could be, you know, remember like a couple of years ago, everybody who went to one of the PAX conventions got whatever the flu was that year. I think it was the swine flu, you know, and how many people come back from conventions with con crud? So, you know, this is all to the good. I mean, if they're capable of making the Javits healthier.
Yeah, but it's not up to them.
And less ugly.
All it takes to spread con crud is one person with horrible hygiene habits taking from the communal candy bowl. You know, it only takes a couple of
Now all they have to do is breathe.
Yeah, so it only takes a few people. That's the problem. It's like, you know, 98% of people can be incredibly safe, mask up, you know, wipe down the booth every hour or whatever. It'll be real interesting to see.
It will. And, you know, our good friend Eric Coe in the comments is telling us that he has an announcement for his Comic-Con panel, San Diego panel. So we should pay attention to that.
Yes.
And that he is not coming, you know, that he can't come from Canada right now, and that he's not going to have a booth at New York Comic Con.
Oh, that's disappointing, actually.
Yeah. So
yeah, I'm seeing it.
We are far from out of the woods, but you know, I don't know if you noticed this, and you know, not to get too political on here, but Kay Ivey, the Republican governor of Alabama, finally said, you know, it's time to yell at the people who are unvaccinated. I think business owners in the United States and big corporations might have finally realized that pandemic is a real shitty thing for their business. And that if more people get vaccinated, it might make them more money down the road. So instead of, you know, promoting insurrectionists and anti-vaxxers and, you know, free to be you and me militiamen, they might have sent a different message, because we're starting to see some of the anti-vaccination side shift a little bit. And, you know, I think they got a message. From
I'm sure some memo got passed around.
Chances are, but the issue is, I believe that the issue is twofold. It's the anti-vaxxers. It's also a lack of the health infrastructure that we need in the United States. Like, somebody was on Twitter saying there should be like an ice cream van, and when you go to the ice cream van, they give you ice cream and they give you your shot. You know, go to where people are, speak their language. I think there could be. Speaking as a former government employee who used to do this kind of thing, I feel like the outreach in general could be more aggressive. But that said, we're prepared for all eventualities. If nothing else, I got a lot of books to read because people sure been publishing a lot of comics.
Well, that is the thing. What have you girls been reading?
Well, before we move on to that, I have one more thing about New York Comic Con, which is they just sent out an email yesterday, I think, saying panel applications are now open. You have a week to get them in.
Yeah. Well, they've been open for quite a while. They just announced that publicly. So
yeah. So I guess they've either figured out they have everything they already want, and they're just going to pay lip service to the idea of open panels, or I don't know. But it was a very abbreviated announcement. And so and there's still very little information on who is going to be appearing there that, you know, people might want to see?
Well, I was going to say, like, you know, I think the con to watch for how things are going to go is Otakon.
Which one?
Otakon.
When is that
Otakon is the
happening?
first big anime convention that is actually going on, being an in-person event this summer. And I think
When
it's
is it
happening
scheduled
in
for?
a few weeks, in August.
Ah,
It's in Baltimore.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
And so most of the people on my, you know, in my social media feeds are kind of like either, yes, hell yes, I'm going to go, but I'm going to be really careful, or I'm ambivalent about it now because things are getting, but it's going to be interesting to see how this organization handles the crowd, whether there'll be exhibitors or whether they'll have that energy, whether anyone will catch anything afterwards, you know. So I think that's, even though it's not as talked about in comic book circles as New York Comic Con, I think this is that will be an interesting bellwether.
well,
Well,
it's a different type of convention too, because I mean, I think it's important to get at what kind of convention are we talking about. Something like your San Diego, your New York sells themselves on, you can come see these panels, you can come see these announcements, you can come see these guests, you can get a lot of signatures. You know, that Otakon is not that kind of show, in part because of its subject matter and the difficulty of getting the actual guests. So that's much more come party with your fellow fans, more Artist Alley driven perhaps. So yeah,
typically Otakon is one of the biggest shows, right?
well,
but I think, you know, by the nature of what's going on now, I don't think they're having any Japanese guests, and that was usually one of their big draws.
well, I mean, look at the Olympics. You know, you guys, I got an even bigger one, which is MegaCon.
What is that?
MegaCon is a big Comic-Con that's in Orlando, Florida, and it's run by the Fan Expo people, and they are expecting 100,000 people. It's
Holy
in
cow.
Florida, and there are no restrictions whatsoever in Florida, as we know. So I think you're right about Otakon, but I think MegaCon is totally going to be the one, and that is, yeah, it's in 3 weeks. It's on August 12th, and so rates are rising quickly in Florida. It is,
and Ron DeSantis is completely unrepentant. So
yeah, we can, you know what, let me see if I could be Ron.
Oh my gosh, Christopher Eccleston is coming to MegaCon.
I know, right? And so is Dave Coulier and Bob Saget and Ray Fisher. Yeah, Adam Savage, George Takei, be careful, William Shatner, Brendan Fraser, you know, they have a real you know,
That's a lineup.
It's quite a lineup. I'm just going to see if I can.
So these cons are going to be the real canaries in the coal mine for us. You know?
Okay. Yeah. I kind of am envisioning a horror story about some beloved fan celebrity gets sick at a con and passes away. And
you guys. I'm going to try to share my screen here because here's MegaCon Orlando's COVID-19 guidelines, and they're pretty incredible. So let's see if I can do this. I'm so bad at screen sharing, but I did it. I think I did it. Yes. If you're not feeling well, stay home.
Excellent.
We highly recommend you wear a mask, wash or sanitize your hands often. Where possible, keep your distance. That's it. That's their policy protocols.
That's wishful thinking.
So basically, it's all on you. Because again, this is the state of Florida, so there is no health protocols whatsoever beyond, if you're not feeling well, stay home.
It's actually illegal in Florida to anything based on vaccination status. You cannot discriminate.
Yeah.
According to them, based on whether or not you're vaccinated.
Yeah.
Some of the cruise lines are suing because of this. I was looking to see, is there any sort of statement or policy on whether you'll be allowed to shake hands, get photo ops?
So I have talked to a few people, like showrunners, because I did just write my story for San Diego preview. I will be doing the New York Comic Con preview as well. And it's really up to the individual. You know, it's up to the individual celebrity. I mean, I imagine that a lot of them already had health protocols in place. I mean, a lot of these people are very elderly, like, you know, let's be honest, William Shatner and George Takei.
Yeah.
So, you know, I'm sure they will be in a cryogenic booth without germs, you know, even if they're vaccinated, which I sure hope they are. But yeah, my understanding from talking to some showrunners is that it is up to the individual guest how they want to handle it.
And to be fair, you're much less likely to get coronavirus, we know now, from shaking hands or giving someone a book than from breathing.
Mhm.
You know,
Yeah.
it's going to be all about the masks.
Yeah.
Okay, so the photo op people from MegaCon, because they often have a different company handle the photo ops, right? Who are specialized. Their policy is that you won't be able to do fun poses and interactions, especially hugging during your photo. You'll be asked to respect the barrier between yourself and the guest. So it's possible that they're selling these things and you won't even actually, plastic barrier or something. I don't know. There's a lot of questions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It makes you wonder if it's even worth it to do a photo op if basically it's like you and the bank teller with a piece of plexiglass between them, right?
Yeah, exactly.
There's a couple of talk show people here in Boston who are on NPR, and they're doing like a Zoom at home with Jim and Marjorie event. And so one of the things that you get for your entrance fee is you get a screenshot of the Zoom with you and the talk show people, which is
Nice try, guys.
yeah.
Well, some of the various shows are actually selling 2-minute video one-on-one interactions. So, if you're you get to actually talk with them one-on-one across Zoom instead of worrying about the photo souvenir. It's a different kind of meetup, which actually makes more sense to me.
I think that's kind of cool.
Yeah, because then at least you're guaranteed to get their attention. So I don't know. I'm still wandering the MegaCon website, looking at their costs.
Oh no, we've distracted Johanna.
I know it is.
No, I was curious because it's $100 for a photo op with Christopher Eccleston, who's the person I looked at because I'm a Doctor Who fan, and he's only recently come back to doing shows or even admitting he was the first Doctor Who.
Oh, you are already plotting going to Orlando.
Yeah, she's making a
I'm
plan.
not going to Orlando, not with these rules, not with those situations. No way. But $100 for a photo op, and you don't even know if you'll even get to how close you'll get to be with this person. And social distancing is supposed to be 6 feet, although nobody is doing that anymore.
No, actually,
number
I
to
was
be
kind of reflecting on that. Like one of the nice byproducts of the pandemic is when you stand in line anymore, people give you a respectful amount of distance.
Yeah, but it's not 6 feet.
I like even the respectful amount of distance.
Yeah.
I remember standing in line before and people would bump you and stuff like that and be like, or like,
okay, so MegaCon is the one we need to watch for the whole, disaster news coming.
Well, the Olympics will be an interesting thing to watch too. I mean, I am personally boycotting it a bit because I think it's horrible what's happening in Japan.
The worst thing about I can't boycott them any harder than I already do. And I wish I could. Like, I don't even care about the Olympics, but this year I kind of actively hate them. And it started with the runner who was bounced for smoking.
So horrible.
It was awful. It was awful, and then it's just kind of, and this happened with Russia too. I mean, I think, so we had a near miss here in Boston because we almost got the Olympics here. And if you knew what happens on the back end, it is absolutely just horrifically wasteful, unenvironmental, among other things. The International Olympic Committee, who apparently are princes, they have to have a dedicated highway lane just for them from the airport to wherever they're going. And I was like, I will be one of the Bostonians who will be lining up with a bag of tomatoes waiting for them to drive by. Like, that just it is so not Boston, I can tell you. So not Boston.
Well, there was, go on.
Yeah, so I just hate the Olympics, but I also think it's very wasteful and destructive. I would love to see it go back to like the simple thing where they have it in one location, maybe in Greece, and people don't have to like rip down and rebuild a whole city wherever they go, because they also impose a crushing debt on the places they go. The people that work for them, or the athletes are exploited. And okay, so the young woman whose name I do not recall, who was bounced.
Sha'Carri Richardson.
Yeah, Sha'Carri Richardson. Okay, this is Jim Thorpe all over again. And if you don't know who Jim Thorpe is, Google him. It's Thorpe with an E, but he was a Native American who was successful and won medals, and then had everything taken away from him on account of he didn't have his amateur status, when the fact is white guys were doing the same sort of thing.
Yeah.
And,
it's always brown people.
It's always, yeah.
It's always. So, I mean, I'll never forget when I went to Barcelona, like a long time ago now, but we climbed up Mount Juic, which means Mount Jew, because that's how they roll. But we climbed up, and once you got up into this kind of wilderness, you saw the old Olympic Stadium, and it was kind of this weird abandoned place, you know, where Freddie Mercury and Montserrat Cabal had sung together, and it was beautiful, but it was like, you know, kind of this abandoned stadium up in the hills. So yeah, they build all these great things. It's a big civic pride, and you know, are they used? But
Well, they displace a lot of people
maybe
to
this
do
is
it.
the tipping
They
point.
usually build it in the worst area and you know. kick a
well,
bunch of
that was the thing. They were trying to get them from New York, and you know, it was like, no way,
Oh,
Jose.
God. They'd have
Like,
to put them in
oof,
clean.
oof. No, not at all. Well, anyway, back to San Diego Comic-Con at home. Has there been anything else of note that anybody was of interest? You know, is there anything panels coming up? Now, I have a panel tomorrow about comics journalism representation with Tiffany Babb and Wendy Brown. And congrats to the Women Write About Comics crew for their second year in a row winning the Eisner
Yes,
for Best
congratulations.
Comic Journalism. That's really super well deserved. Support them on Patreon. I don't understand why the industry doesn't call for inclusion all day and then doesn't support actual representation. So, you know, I'll never shut up about that. But anything else about the Eisners or anything else San Diego wise, ladies?
Well, like I have two panels coming up. One that's at 10 a.m. on Sunday, 10 a.m. Pacific time, I believe. It's the manga publishing roundtable.
Nice.
Publishing, so it's people.
Always worth watching.
It's really great because we have Layla Aker from Square Enix. We have Mark DeVere from Yen Press, Evan Salazar from Kodansha, and Kevin Hamrick from Viz.
Whoa,
Oh,
all
that's a good lineup.
It's a good discussion about what's going on in the industry. On a lighter note, at 6 p.m. on Sunday, I am the moderator for a panel featuring the voice actors of Anpan Man. Anpan Man is a very popular children's show about a superhero whose head is basically a little bun, like a sweet bean-filled bun, and he breaks off pieces of his head to feed to people in need. It's airing on Tubi now, and so it was a kind of a fun conversation. We talked about bread, one of my favorite subjects. And then I think the other promo is on Monday at 2 p.m. Eastern. I am doing the Not at Comic Con Best and Worst Manga panel, and Brigid is one of the panelists.
I'm one of the people.
So it's going to be on the Comic Beat YouTube channel, and we're going to live stream it, and we're going to see how this works. But it's this year,
Yes.
like we've all seen, is a bit of an experiment.
Well, it's I'll be on the road, so I'm not necessarily going to be able to help you out there, Brigid, and Deb. So we'll talk about that when
We'll try to make it work.
Yeah, we'll make it. Well, it'll be fine. We'll figure out a way. Today was just close your windows. Do not have a window open with sound on. And we learned that.
We've learned this. But you know what? As one of my editors enjoys saying, everybody loves a fuck up.
Yes.
There goes our children's rating for this party.
Yes, that's true.
Oh, sorry.
not kid friendly.
Train wreck. Everybody loves a train wreck.
Yes. So anything else? Well, so any books? I was going to say, any books you guys are reading that you like right now?
I was gonna say I was impressed at the Eisners that Junji Ito won 2 awards.
I know, right?
I thought that was cool.
Everybody loves Junji Ito.
Why? Who wouldn't love Junji Ito? He's like this super, really
He's
charming
pretty chill for a horror guy.
for
Yeah.
a guy who writes really horrifying stories. It's kind
Yeah.
of refreshing, you know. I mean, this guy who used to be like a dental technician
Right.
goes on to, you know, be like one of the most celebrated horror manga creators, and he's so funny and such a good sport. Like I remember at Crunchyroll Expo, they had him do a panel about cats, and then he wore cat ears and posed for pictures making paws, and I thought, you are the goodest of good sports I've ever met. I love you already, and everyone's like, oh, Junji Ito, like he's like everyone's uncle.
Not one of those stuffy mangaka, you know.
I mean, but the fact is, basically, like when people talk about like manga franchises that are selling well this year, they said My Hero Academia, Tokyo Ghoul, you know, or like Demon Slayer, and then they'll say Junji Ito. Junji Ito is his own genre.
Well, a bestseller now. I mean, his books are selling like hotcakes here in the United States.
They are, and in fact, so I do a lot of analysis for ICV2, and one of the things for our manga week in May, I was like, well, we have like, okay, this, One Piece has 90 volumes, so it sells really well, but what if you average, like, what's the best performer per volume? What's the most efficient manga to have in your store? It's Junji Ito. Like, he, I think, topped our list. We came up with a list of 10. You can still find it on ICV2. And Junji Ito was like, yes, you don't, whatever you have of his is going to sell. People love him. And he did have an anime, and I think there's another, isn't there
There's an anime coming out of Uzumaki, which is, it looks stunning. The first Junji Ito anime, which was like adaptation for the short stories, frankly, the animation was lacking.
Really?
It wasn't that great. But the Uzumaki one that's in development is really, I mean, the animator put out a notice like saying, hey, we're really sorry. It's taking us longer, but we'll show you what we're doing, and that'll explain why it's taking so long. And everyone's like, whoa, it was just mind-blowingly beautiful. It's all done in like grays and whites, gray, black, and white. And it captures the line work and the mood of his work in a really beautiful way. So it is about a year or so later than they've promised, but I think it's worthwhile to wait.
What a good, like, look, there's PR 101 for you, right? I mean, we're late. People are late all the time. But let's show you how awesome it is, rather than stonewalling and telling people to shut up and go away. So I think that's pretty brilliant. I would love to see a live action adaptation of Uzumaki, but it would probably
There is.
Is there?
Yes. There's a live action version of Uzumaki, but it's like you have to find it through like an import. I
just think that would be quite a cinematic feat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I will say that Japanese horror movies, the special effects are a little low budget compared to what we see in America. But I think for horror movie aficionados, low budget's not a deal killer.
It's part of the enjoyment. It's the special sauce.
Yeah.
Any other Eisner winners that stood out for you? I was really sad that I don't think Chip Zdarsky took any. My manga's
No, he didn't. I was happy that Matt Fraction and Steve Lieber won for Jimmy Olsen, Superman's pal. Of course, Gene Luen Yang won like every award he was up for, because
yay!
Yeah, I mean it's both of his books, Dragon Hoops and Superman Smashes the Klan, were the books of the year. I was nice to see Black Widow. I haven't read the book, but I was happy that Kelly Thompson won for best new series for Black Widow, along with I believe it was Elena Casagrande. I've known Kelly a long time, and she was actually a reviewer for me at Publishers Weekly. Like, I mean, a long time ago, I met her just this one time at a women's get together at a bookstore, and she said she wanted to write for do some reviews, and that was it. She was great. I never have seen her or talked to her since then, that one time. But anyway, I'm just really happy that she's become such a success, and she's such a good writer, and I'm just really happy for her to be doing so well.
I'd like to give a shout out to Kent State, which was really an extraordinary book. And honestly, like, there were certain categories that were very tough. I thought all the children's book choices were strong, but in best reality based. So I remember Kent State happening. I'm that old. I was in grade school. So it's something that's been with me all my life, but I never really understood it. And Durf did such a great job of, on the one hand, like, explaining what's actually a very complicated situation where a lot of people bear responsibility, and at the same time, making it a good story. So you're following some people, some of them are killed and some of them aren't, but he got really interesting people to follow. He is a really good storyteller, even when the material doesn't drop into his lap like it did with My Friend Dahmer. I mean, I just think that it is an excellent example of what a really good nonfiction graphic novel can be like, and I was really impressed with it. There was one children's book that I really, really liked, and it did not win, but I think it's a worthy book. And it's a book called Bear, which is about a seeing eye dog who loses his sight. And I know. And and then he gets, but it's like sad and it's funny because these raccoons trick him into running away and he makes friends with a real bear. But what's great about this, and it's another good example of what the graphic novel medium does well, is that the creator manages to both show you the world the way it is and show you the world the way that Bear is seeing it, where he's using his sense of smell and his sense of hearing and he's putting it together in his head. So he's getting a lot of things wrong. So it's a great kind of unreliable narrator kind of a story. It's also just really funny and full of action. It's a great kids comic that also is just a great comic. So, I mean, it's tough because people don't read everything in the categories. I did not vote in categories where I didn't read the books.
Yeah, me neither.
But I think that's a great book, and people should read it anyway.
Well, another big winner was Menopause.
Yes.
The anthology.
What does that tell you?
I have to read that one.
We finally got comics about menopause. That was the last frontier. So congrats to Mimi Pond. Also, the great Stan Sakai won a couple. Also, Hall of Fame. I have to say, Scott McCloud and Neil Gaiman going in together, which is kind of cool because they're such good friends. And that was, kind of my generation. So that was kind of cool. Yeah. And also Lily Renee Phillips, still alive at 100 years old, getting in. I think it was really great that they elected her to the Hall of Fame. And also Ruth Atkinson. It's not as well known, I think, not with us anymore. But there was so many women who have contributed to the history of comics that was just suppressed, and it's really great to see them getting some mention.
And shout out to Francoise Mouly, who
of course,
who kind of has made a lot of things possible without necessarily taking center stage. Yeah. It was really nice to see Francoise get her too.
Absolutely. So
good choices. And an interesting year. I felt like it was a little bit, I don't know, like DC getting 4 awards. Like it seemed like a little bit conventional. I don't know how to say it.
But the books that won
the obvious choice of winning the awards.
But they were so well. I mean, are you saying that's a lot or a little?
I'm saying that's a lot. Last year, DC didn't have any awards, and neither did Marvel.
Usually Fantagraphics or something walking away with most of them.
Well, Simon Hanselman won 2 as well.
He won 2 for 2 very different things.
Yeah.
And Fantagraphics had 4 awards, which is, I think, fewer. I mean, Boom had none. Dark Horse had none.
You know what, the win that was the most foregone conclusion of all was James Tynion, the 4th winning as best writer.
He's killing it.
I mean, he's the man now.
Yeah.
He's really become the man. And both, with his fantastic work and then with also behind the scenes, becoming a publisher or just talking about his process and, becoming an industry leader, and just really happy for him. He had the best tweet though. He just said, going to the Hyatt bar of my mind and hugging all my friends. I'm like,
I mean, doesn't that feel a little sad? I mean, a little bit, not as sad as like being an Olympian and like going, running in an empty stadium. But, I mean, when you work that hard and you get recognized by your peers, you kind of want more of a celebration than a Zoom broadcast. What I mean?
That's another thing with the whole getting back to normal. There are certain events that will never come again in people's lives that they missed out on because of all this.
Right. And that's true of the Olympics and the Eisners.
Well, I'd be very surprised if they don't invite, if they have it in person, if they don't invite, Scott McCloud and Neil Gaiman. I mean, who knows if Neil will be at Comic-Con, but I'd be very surprised if they didn't invite them to.
They always invite the Living Hall of Famers.
Yeah. And also to have like a moment to get some live crowd response, but I hope they do. Like,
if you know who the guests are, you can kind of predict who won the Hall of Fame voting. I'll say it.
Yeah.
Oh, is that how you handicap it, Brigid?
Yes. Or who you see at the.
Not telling tales out of school here, but if someone's in the Hall of Fame voting and they're old and they're coming,
yeah.
I mean,
arrangements have been made.
Like Comic-Con at Home has something with Junji Ito, like where he's going to be drawing. So I think, it makes me feel like maybe that was their intention, was like to invite him in person to San Diego Comic-Con.
Yeah.
And that would have been nice. And maybe that will still happen in the future. he seems to be less tied to a weekly schedule like some of the Shonen Jump creators. So
we all met him at TCAF. So you know,
we got our Gingy moment. So yeah, I'm trying to see what else we have here on our docket. What is there now, Johanna? You haven't been to San Diego, and when was the last time you went?
It was sometime in the mid 2000s.
Yeah.
The crowds were a lot for me then.
Yeah. So Johanna accepted. What do we miss the most? It's been 2 years. If we, make her willing, next year, it'll be 3 years since we went to San Diego. But unless we go to this San Diego fall show, which I'm not even going to go into. But what do we miss the most now that we've had 2 years without Comic-Con?
I just think the feeling of being there and being in that beautiful convention center. And Johanna, while it's true that the halls get crowded, like there's a certain, you feel like you can breathe there. I mean,
I was planning to come back. I mean,
yeah,
I
right.
Go next time there is one. Now
right.
So yeah, I'm not putting it down. I'm not saying never. I'm just saying it's been a while.
But just the feeling, like walking along the marina, San Diego is a beautiful place. And San Diego with Comic-Con is a beautiful and exciting place where there's just like a surprise around every corner. You're walking down the street and there's like the women dressed from The Handmaid's Tale, and they're next to the, Date My Daddy guys. It's all thrown together in a wonderful and beautiful way. The food is good and the company is good. So, because I always stay with Deb and Heidi. So, it's just, I think it's one of those things where being there is what it's all about.
Yeah. Deb, you have any specifics?
I mean, obviously the people. I love seeing you guys, and I love seeing people I only see once a year at the show. I miss the energy. There's always, it's always really delightful to see people getting, people of all ages, families going together, getting really excited about going.
Yes, the little kids in the Spider-Man suits.
Yeah, and I still have like a picture that popped up from my past Comic-Con was this looks like a Japanese or Chinese family dressed up as Wonder Woman, Superman, and I think what was it? Then there was two other people who the kids were dressed as two other DC heroes, and they were really cute. I think it was like baby Superman and Superman, Wonder Woman and baby Wonder Woman. It's a super cute picture. Yeah. I guess the other thing I miss too is like I have like these really distinct memories of like walking to the con from our hotel room, and I'll see these guys walking in front of me and think they are really well dressed. They look really sharp, and it's the French.
French. Yeah, man, there's nothing like French guys.
The French guys, like they look chic, and whereas everyone else has a sopping, sweaty T-shirt, and I feel like a slob because I'm dressed for action.
Right, we're practical, but somehow the French can get things done in tight pants and silk scarves. I don't understand it.
I remember
sucker suits. I don't know. They look amazing. It was kind of like that meme picture of like Bill Murray and
yes,
Wes Anderson and stuff like that. It just. Wow. Yeah, it just feels like that. And that's, to me, almost felt like that's a microcosm of what it looks like when you go to Comic-Con without the...
Oh, it totally is, yeah. Yeah, I agree.
I love discovering a new book at Comic-Con, too. I mean, like, despite the fact that I have so many books, I still manage to find things I like and pick up. I would always typically have to have an extra bag just for books.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That's why I like taking the train back. 3 days to read books.
Nice. I guess I miss you guys, obviously. I miss the people, but I guess, I think we're all excitement junkies. And I think I miss the fact that it's like a triathlon. It's really a test. It's a mental and physical test. And like you get that endorphin high from surviving the test. But usually, I get in now I get in Tuesday morning and, from usually Tuesday's my recon day, I see where the lie of the land is, maybe run a couple little errands, get some snacks. And then, usually Wednesday morning, like from 9 a.m. on, it's like 9 a.m. Wednesday morning until usually like 10 a.m. Sunday morning. Every minute is booked. Like every minute is accounted for. And so it's like I
You
said, it's like,
especially.
yeah. And so it's like that triathlon. It's like, you know, you gotta bicycle 110 miles and then you gotta swim 20 miles. And then I guess the thing that I miss is that feeling when it's over, you know, like Sunday night, unless things are like Brigadoon is floating away and we go to
The
dinner.
circus
Like,
rolls up and leaves
yes.
town.
I think, Deb, have you been to our Sunday night dinner?
I did go the last
yes,
time. Yeah.
yes.
That was
And
nice.
Brigid, you've been a regular at it for
Yep.
a few years,
Yep.
but you know, we have a very small dinner with just the same people who've been going for well over 20 years now, some of them, and you know, a few newcomers. And you know, we're gonna have to find a new restaurant. I see our restaurant closed, but and then it's I don't know, that's like, I guess it's like for me, it's having the whole thing having happened and and that feeling of accomplishment and survival.
I don't miss spending most of the day in the hotel room working on my PowerPoint decks for my presentations. But I do like the fact that when we come, the reason why we started having these podcasts and discussions is we would all go our separate ways during the day, and then we would converge back in the hotel room and talk about what we saw and what we did and who we met and who we talked to. And I mean, that was kind of always fun, right? Because you guys will all have different experiences or different perspectives on the show. It was nice to kind of get your reports.
Oh yeah, it was great. It was really great. And of course, you know, Johanna, even though she doesn't go to San Diego, you know, you come to TCAF and SPX, and you know, you've been an integral part of you know, some of our other hotel room escapades. Not really escapades. It's more like just, you know, chat and chew.
I mean, sometimes it's a mix of gossip. It's like, oh, did you hear the so-and-so do this?
Yeah, well, if you heard the part that we talk about when this goes off, that would be never.
But then there's also
back.
going, you know, like coming back after a couple of hours on the SPX floor, and we're all spreading out our books on the bed, and you know, like, oh, I got to go back and get that one, you know, and sometimes trading back and forth. It's you know, that's also a really cool part. So yeah, I like that a lot.
Yeah, there's just, you know, it's we miss human contact. Well,
I miss the ability to have these conversations with wine without feeling like I'm drinking alone.
Yes. Oh wow. Oh boy, I no comment on that. But yes, and our snacks.
I almost got to the point where I miss the Mrs. Fields cookies and soft pretzels, which are the only sources of sustenance in that entire stinking.
How did we never pack? You know, Douglas Wolk would like shock me. He'd be like, I have some snacks. I have some carrots and hummus in my backpack. You know, like maybe it's a little bit warm, but very smart. I mean, you can bring your own food, you know, it's just we never do because we secretly like the pretzel. I mean, come on.
I do like a Mrs. Fields cookie once a year.
Yeah, that's it. Once a year.
Once a year, you know, a Dodger dog. So, well, you guys, I think that just about wraps it up. So, but you know, we will be back hopefully in person in October with actual in person 4 women or 3 women. We'll have some women. And, you know, thank you so much to San Diego Comic-Con for carrying on. And, you know, it's really, I know it's been really hard for the folks at CCI. And, you know, they're carrying on and putting on this event still, which is really, you know, much needed, let's face it, even though it's a bit tamped down this year. But, and thank you for listening. We have a few people still listening to us and watching. Thank you so much for putting up with our technical issues. So I guess until next time, right?
Yep.
Yes.
All right. We are 4 women in a Zoom room.